like you eat chicken. They got to be crazy. They could hardly see where they're going. And you want to look up to them and brag about little nuts like Bruce Lee and his damn son that got shot the other week. The hell with him and his son. The greatest warriors on this earth are black men, black Hebrew Israelites. We are the greatest warriors. We're the greatest architects and engineers and scientists and singers and dancers and performers. And we're the ones that created all things in this world. Everybody learned from us. We were the ones that built up this planet, not you so-called white people. You didn't build up a damn thing. You was a monkey running around in the caves of Mount Seir. And then after you got ran out of there, you ran up into another range of mountains, the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia. The only thing that the so-called Greeks and the Romans contributed to society was faggots and lesbians. That's the only thing that they could literally say that they contributed to society.
They are devout faggots.
Right.
And devout homosexuals.
Alexander the Greek.
That is their religion now. They went to the White House.
And look at how the faggots marched all on the White House the other day. Talking about they want to have rights
Lincoln Memorial.
to be in the army, all up on the Lincoln Memorial and all that. And Clinton talking about he sides with them. That's telling me something about Clinton. Anybody that go along with being a faggot got to be a faggot themselves. Read.
But God shall wound the head of his enemies.
See there? The head of their enemies are going to be wounded. A lot of these so-called leaders, a lot of your presidents, Kennedy was wounded to death. A lot of Negro leaders have been wounded to death because you ain't got the right song. You ain't talking about the right thing. You ain't doing the right thing. You churches, all of you going to be smashed. Jehovah Witness, all of you going to be smashed. Let me say this. You always talk about the Jehovah Witness at Kingdom Hall. I want to make a statement. David Koresh of Mount Davidian was a 7-day Adventist. Did you know that? He was running around claiming to be
Caesar
Borgia, the fake Jesus Christ. He said that if the army tried to come in there on him, he would devour them with fire. Devour them with fire, all right. He took his life and the rest of them devils that was in there with him. It's stupidity for our people to follow after some garbage image like this. Because this is not the image of Christ. Christ has never looked like this, never will. Christ was a clean man. He was a righteous man. He was a holy man. And he wasn't cursed with leprosy. Look at this satanic sign he's holding up. 2 horns up. You see that? 2 fingers? That means 2 horns up. What does that mean? That means that you trust Satan totally for all things, your finance and all things in life. That's what that means. 2 horns pointed up. They represent the devil. Read.
But God shall wound the head of his enemies, and the hairy scalp of such as one as goeth on still in his trespasses.
You so-called white men, you're the ones that go on still in your trespasses. Your hairy scalp is going to be scorched by thermonuclear destruction and by the destruction of the power of Yahweh in the presence of his mighty and holy angels when Christ shall come to be redeemed and admired among his saints. The only saints on this earth are the Israelites. Everybody else is a demon. Everybody else is a demon on this earth. The only saints are Israelites. There's never been any other saints. There never will be any other saints. So get that mess straight on TV talking about we dug up the grave of this old Negro over here and we decided that we're going to put him into sainthood. You ain't putting a damn thing in the sainthood. We are the saints. So how you going to put a Negro into sainthood digging up some old grave where he was buried at, and then you're going to claim you're going to make him a saint? He was born a saint. And you so-called white people, you're born devils. So this is going to conclude this segment of the Israeli School of Universal Practical Knowledge, a show called The Real Jews Are Black. We've talked to you about the UFOs tonight. If you brothers and sisters will take the time to come to the school and study this Bible, your minds will expand like the universe. And when you're going home at night sometime, look up sometime. Look up in the air, because you might see something that we talked about, the so-called UFO, which are your brothers and sisters, the mighty angels of heaven. With that, I want to say shalom and peace to all my brothers and sisters in Israel. Shalom, my brothers and sisters. This is High Priest Yashiyah coming to you again once from the Israeli school, UPK. That means Universal Practical Knowledge. And this is the only school like this on the planet. It's the only school that has universal practical knowledge. And all of the universal practical knowledge that you need to know is in the Holy Scriptures. There's literally millions of churches upon the face of the earth. And I want to pry into some of these churches and their background and what they teach in these churches. Are they institutes of learning, or are they houses of Satan? Are they institutions of higher skills, or are they just a big business and a discotheque? What is the church system all about? Are the preachers prophets of God? Are they modern day pimps? Are they holy men, or are they full of holes? Well, let's go in the Bible and let's check some of these things out, because from the research that's been done in the Holy Scriptures, there's only been basically 3 churches, physical churches, that have been built on the planet Earth that the Spirit of God, or Yahweh, which is his true name, ever entered into. But before we pry into that, I would like to introduce one of the young priests that's going to read for me. He goes by the name of Makwawash. He happens to be a captain of 5,000, and I feel very honored and privileged to have him here today to be my eloquent reader. This is the way we Israelites did things in the past, and this is the way it's going to be done again. Like I said, the subject matter that I'm dealing with at this point, which I'm going to switch over into other subject matter, but this matter that we're dealing with is the church. Is the church like the Baptist church, the Methodist church, the African church, the Lutheran church, the Church of God in Christ, the Church of St. Paul Divine, all of these little Negroid storefront churches that cook barbecue, Bigfoot, and everything else on Sunday through Monday, Monday through Sunday, and have revival meetings. Are they actually churches of God, Yahweh, or are they actually witch covens reviving spirits of demons? Let's go into the Holy Scriptures and find out what the Apostle Paul said about these so-called churches. Because I see that there's enough churches on the planet Earth for the whole earth to be redeemed. There should be nobody locked up in prison. There should be no crime. This should be a perfect society with the numerous amount of churches that overflow the planet Earth. There's more churches on the planet Earth than any other institutions on the face of this earth. There are more churches than hospitals. There are more churches than schools. There are more churches than, you name it. Churches outnumber anything on this planet. So with that number, with all these great holy men running around in these churches, I would think that salvation would be brought to the earth. But I don't want to read a quotation out of the Scriptures. Acts 17:24. Read.
The Most High that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands.
This is a clear statement. He said the Most High, meaning God, is you church people, because you don't have the intelligence to understand that his original name in the original tongue that is spoken in, which is Hebrew, his name is not God. That's a satanic name. When you turn it around backwards, just like if you take a Rolling Stones album and play it backwards, it says, we worship Satan, Satan is our God. When you turn the word God around backwards,